All right, we are back at it again this week. Welcome, everybody, to our Serra Padre football pregame podcast featuring the very talented varsity coach, Patrick Walsh.
I get excited. Every week you have a different, adjective for me.
I do.
Just Coach Walsh would be fine, but...
Well, if you have a bad week, you better watch out.
Okay, you're right. Hopefully we don't have any of those. Yeah.
We won't.
Okay.
And I would never say it if you did. But my name is Amy Strain. I'm Sarah's Director of Marketing and Communication. And I'm really excited for this week's podcast. We have a lot to talk about, and we're going to start with last week. We played Paly on Friday night. The Serra stands were packed, and the final score was 41-14 Serra. Can you give us a little recap of the game, please?
Yeah, well, first of all, I was so excited to see so many students from Serra come and support us. You never know with what's, going on in the world, and sometimes we get good crowds, sometimes we don't. So I was so thrilled to see the student body there, and actually got pumped up. And even at the end of the third quarter, I ran over there and, just gave them a big shout out and thank, it matters. Having support from the student body, whether it's the jungle game or it just matters. And I know it matters to the kids. And you could see really the excitement from both student bodies there that night. And, people just want to get outside and just root for their teams. And it was just really, really good night that way. So that was my first recap of the night. And then,
Definitely.
I thought we came out strong. I thought we didn't look real good offensively kind of in the beginning, but, we had some mistakes in communication and some other things, but Jabari scored that first touchdown.
That was beautiful.
That was great on the screenplay. And, people ask me, and I'm usually a sandbagging type person, or I'm usually concerned, would be a better word, on how we can lose every single game. But, this was a type of game where I'm like, you know what, I think these kids are going to play. And I think they've been ready. I think they want it. We got smoked out of the first game. Obviously had a bunch of things we were working through the first week.
Yep.
I was just like, I expect these guys to come out, fly around the field. We talked about a blizzard.
Great.
We're wearing white, just got white out. Just everyone's just so enthusiastic and happy to be kids and fly around the field and have fun. And I think that's what we saw Friday night.
Definitely. Well, I totally agree with that. I was in the stands, so I did get to see the excitement and the hype. And when you did run up to them, it was a roar like you couldn't believe, even from where I was sitting, which was a terrible seat behind the Padre tent. So I'll know that for next time. But
right.
But no, it was great. And one of the things too, just to start from the beginning, I love the way that you guys line up during the anthem and raise your helmets. I think that the whole, everybody in the stands is so impressed by that too. So,
yep.
But there were some amazing plays, as you said. We've had our quarterback run. How many yards for a touchdown? It was
70 or, and that play wasn't blocked well. So people that are listening that like football, we actually had a blocking error. I'm the line coach, so it was my fault, but we left the play side linebacker unblocked in the hole, which is usually a tackle for a loss or at least a non-play. But, I told the line, like, hey, thank God you have talented players behind you, because we scored a touchdown, not because of the line, but because Dom's talented.
Right. And
made the guy miss and went all the way for a touchdown. Some great downfield blocking. I thought Seamus Gilmartin was the star of the night that no one would ever really know about, in the sense that his selfless play, his blocking downfield, his effort and enthusiasm to play for his teammates, really, really showed up on film. So we giving him a shout out right now, but we also did that in front of the team on Monday.
Well, and you had a lot of some of the younger players made some incredible plays. It was really, everybody was really in it. And of course, Mahasan was, absolutely incredible. It is just so much fun to watch that talent on a high school stage.
Yeah.
So rare, but so much fun. So
yeah, he's worth the price of admission.
Certainly.
This is, I remember when I was growing up back in the day, there was this guy named Calvin Bird and Jason Kidd. And I'm sure some of the people listening know exactly who I'm talking about. But they played for Alameda. They played for St. Joe's in Alameda. And it was like, you have to go watch those guys play. And then obviously Jason Kidd's a Hall of Fame player, and Calvin Bird, I think they went off to, one went to Cal, I think. But anyway, I remember like the community was like, you have to watch these guys play. I didn't even know who they were.
Right.
But now, like forever, I'm like, oh, I saw Jason Kidd play when he was in high school. Maybe we'll be saying that about the Missile.
I think you will.
He's just so exciting, and I'm not going to say he's a Hall of Fame NFL player. That'd be great. But,
Sure.
Just the excitement he brings every week. And, that's just a testament of who he is and how he works, and, how he believes in the team. Is very quiet, but he's awesome to watch. There's no doubt about it.
That's great. Well, they clearly, with 41-0 at the half, it was obviously a very dominating first half, and just overall, like, did you feel that the team, like on a connection level, did you feel that they had that connection that you strive for?
Yes, I did, and having that energy. And sometimes, teams come out flat and you're like, oh, what's going on? We didn't have that issue Friday night. I knew we weren't going to have the issue. I'm always concerned about that issue, but not Friday night. They delivered on it. They played for one another. Joseph Bay, our young sophomore, I caught him loafing in practice, and now he's the loaf. He's responsible for no one loafing ever again. It's funny. Too bad I caught that one loaf. But now he's responsible for, we call it getting on the string. So imagine like the ball actually having a string tied to the 11 defensive players. Mm-hmm. And we expect that string, the imaginary string, to like be a force field pulling those 11 Padres to the football. So, those of you out there that are judging our defense, we judge us on an effort and that running to the ball mentality, whether you're, Sowani Ciolo, who's bigger than Joseph Bay, let's say, right. We expect them all to be at the ball when the whistle's blown.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, as we just mentioned, 41-0 at the half, it kind of gave the opportunity for some of the other players, which you've referred to before, and I think in our first podcast as the bottom of the fire players. Did this give them an opportunity to play, and how do you feel like they did?
Yeah. I mean, we lost 14-0 in the second half, so right. I'm not real happy with that. And I told them after the game, we talk about how we believe in the entire team. The Dancing Flames, the Hassans, and then the bottom of the fire, which, provides depth and meaning to the entire team. And I didn't see that. I saw a lack of interest from, I saw two teams play. I saw the starters, and then I saw, the bottom of the fire guys, which is, and I know obviously there's people who are starting and there's people who are not for a reason. I mean, a lot of it is inexperience or, someone got hurt or age or, this is some people are just more talented than others. It's okay to say that.
Absolutely.
Hassan runs faster than most. Sione Laulea he's got great hands. He's tall. He's long. He can make an interception and run for a touchdown. Not everybody can do that. And that's okay. But the expectations on the effort and the enthusiasm, the work put into it, that is something that that has nothing to do with talent.
Universal, right?
It is universal. It has everything to do with effort. And, I could see some guys, I know they didn't watch a lot of film. All of a sudden they're in there under the lights. It's like, okay, now what? Right. It's like, oh, you don't know who to block. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe you should watch film. So it's a great opportunity, for us to learn from and for the entire team to get better, whether it's, the top or the bottom.
Right. So they've learned a lot of useful lessons for not putting out the effort that you hope.
Or we can just, as coaches, just mail it in and say, hey, we don't care. And,
sure.
Whatever, you're just in there to, eat up 24 minutes of high school football. But that's not how our coaching staff is. I mean, everybody matters on this team. And if that's the way it's going to be, whether it's a chapel service or a team dinner or someone struggling in the classroom, we're not going to just put our attention on, the starting 11.
Right.
We're going to put our attention on, we have over 70 kids on this team, thankfully. So, I say in the parent meeting every year, there's the best player on the team, the MVP,
right,
and then there's the not best player on the team. And if you ranked them 1 through 73, your kids are falling in that area. I don't
Absolutely.
know, So the 73rd kid on our team is just as important to us as the first player on the team. So
that's great.
That's why there was a little bit of disappointment, but you always got to measure that with the reality that, we went out there, did what we were supposed to do. It was, a running clock, and the team played great.
That's great. And I mean, it is. I mean, you have some differing skills too when you put your, bottom kids in and they keep their starters in or whatnot. So there's a lot of variables there. But,
absolutely.
But I do applaud you on making every player know their significance. And I think the flip side of that is, they do get a stern talking to afterward because they didn't play up to the expectation, right? The team expectation.
Yeah.
That's important.
Well, one of our values on the path of the spiritual warrior is personal accountability. And we're going to hold them to the entire team being accountable to be a Serra Padre football player. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And I know one of the tenets of that is leadership. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about leadership because we did see a force of leadership, obviously, in that first half. And even in the second, there were a lot of good plays as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I understand the overall messaging to your
Thank
team.
you.
But
Yep.
we were,
I love them all the same.
As spectators, we were extremely impressed with both halves. But,
yes.
but you announced on Friday, the captains of the team, and I thought that it would be worth a mention, and we could talk maybe about who they are and what role they serve. So
yeah, I mean, some years we've had no captains. Some years we've had 2 captains. Some years we've had 5, and your nephew's year, one of the great captains of Serra High School, D.
right.
Lou.
D. Lou, Damon Lewis.
Yeah, Damon Lewis is a great guy. We had 7 that year, and they were all like they voted. So what we do is we put it out to the team, and I just use a Google form, and it's rank your top 5 captains, and then the team votes. It's a team vote. Coaches have no vote on it.
That's awesome.
It doesn't really matter to we can say who the captains are, but we're not the kids, and who we think may be a captain may not be who the kids think. But it was clear this year that 5 captains emerged, from the voting process. Everybody, there was over 20 players did get votes, from sophomores all the way to seniors, which was really incredible to see. So that means there is a lot of depth on the team of people who could be leaders, and we expect that from everybody. So just because you're a captain doesn't mean everyone else has to be followers either.
Right.
But these 5 captains really stood apart, and actually the one who got the most votes was Ryan Mahe.
That's great.
And so if you think of the captain within the captains, maybe, or just who voted the most, and I don't have to say the rest of it, but Mahe got the most votes by a lot.
Wow.
I think everybody voted for Ryan to be a captain, and then what we do is we rank them 5 to 1. So if I think Ryan's our top captain, I would list him first, and he would get 5 points.
I see.
And then you vote for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, a little opposite. Which is the more points the better. And I tallied up all the points, and Ryan got the most points.
Wow.
So the 5 captains are Ryan Mahe, Dom Lampkin, Hassan Mahassan, Drew Azzopardi. I always get him mixed up with his brother Nate.
Right.
And then my other tackle's Nate Elu, who is the 5th captain. So our 2 big tackles on the line are our captains. So Drew Azzopardi and Nate Elu are round out the 5 captains.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really big honor. You just said so yourself. With you see these leaders emerge. What are the roles that they play on the team, and how do they kind of keep it all going and keep them together?
Basically, they are extensions of the coaching staff now. So they've been identified by their players as captains and people that represent them. So of the 73 kids on the team, there's 5 that represent the other 68. If my math is correct. Rosie, check on that, please.
I was going to say, you're not going to have me check.
Yeah, no, that'd be bad. That'd be embarrassing.
We can talk about it.
Exactly. No, I think I'm good. They're basically, information goes up through them. So if there's an issue within the team, I ask them to approach their captains, and their captains approach me or another coach on the staff. That's great. To identify issues, things that we have to fix with the team. And then if the coaching staff, or if I have a problem with the team, then I go to those 5 guys. And that's a really kind of a more difficult role. So, for example, something very small but important, we had a player on our lift on Monday. We labor on Labor Day. So
that's good.
That's exactly. So, we came in, we had a player who was not wearing blue shorts. This player was wearing gray shorts. So I picked one of the captains and yelled at him. And I yelled at him for him allowing wrong color shorts, which is what they said that they wanted everyone to look the same. Right. In the weight room. So why is that my problem? It's the team's problem now. It's the captain's problems now. So just one really small example of how, we want the captains now to take ownership of the rules that are enforced in the program. And the more a team takes over the team, the better it is. If the coaches are motivating in October, November, it's going to be way too late. So now it's the team, and those 5 captains, I'm giving them tools. Coaches are giving them tools to take over the team so they can run it. At the end of the day, this is their experience, and hopefully all the coaches will be back next year. The seniors won't be. Right. So this is their time and their team, and now it's time to take the ball and run with it.
Yep. And teaching accountability at any stage is really success all around. So that's right. Really great. Yep. Is the timing aspect, the fact that it's we still are in. We haven't begun our league games. Is the timing that you announced the captains, is that part of the science behind? Yeah, and sometimes we do it in the summer when we feel like the team is ready to do that, and other times, and we talked about this leadership-wise,
this is a big question mark for us. Like, who's going to be the leaders? Like, particularly after 2019 with those 7 captains, just amazing leaders.
And they had all been together a while too, right? That was a really strong, productive team.
Very, very, very strong, productive team. And Nusi Milani and Nate Sanchez, D. Lou. Gosh, I mean, this is...
Well, Nate as a party was on
Nate
that
as a
team
party,
too, right?
he was one of the captains. Yep. So, there was just an amazing collection of natural leaders on that team.
Right.
And then last year with all the crazy stuff that we went through, I think Christian Pedersen really kind of stood out. Eric Myers stood out. And we actually don't think we even named captains last year, to be honest with you, because we're going through so much stuff. But
we didn't have time.
Yeah,
they said football's going in spring.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on. It was just chaos. But Finn Williams really rose, just came out of... I mean, it wasn't like I was surprised by it, but junior year he wasn't even close to being a captain. But so this is part of the Padre program, seeing someone like Finn, just take it over and all of a sudden grow and mature. And, he was unequivocally last year in that 2020 group, our alpha male. Wow. I was like, we're following that dude.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, he might have something to say about it.
Totally.
So anyway, yeah, there's been a long lineage of great history of great leaders here in this program.
That's great. Well, and it's nice to hear you name the 5 leaders for this year because, earlier in the summer it was discussed that it was a young team. And like you said, the lack of, a very, noticeable, captain, group from last year would kind of, makes it a little different coming into it this year. So that's really great. And so we've talked a little bit about how the program, incorporates leadership. And you've mentioned at one point that you have the 12 goals that you guys identify and that those goals are met each week. Can you talk a little bit about that, like how they're determined, how they're achieved, and what they're drawn from?
Yeah, so this is just years of coaching and picking up things at clinics and just different things that, we've talked a lot about staff. How do we measure ourselves? So I told the team, we can sit here and talk about how great we feel and talk about chapel and all these things that we have and the love, brotherhood, and humility. And those are things that you can't measure necessarily.
Right.
You can feel it, but you can't measure it. At some point, you play a football game.
Exactly.
and all the things that we do to play a football game will be measured by one very clear thing that lights up in the back of the end zone. They call that the scoreboard.
Sure.
And that scoreboard can be a liar, one way or the other. So if you win the game, the scoreboard would say you did everything right, in theory. And if you lose the game, then you did everything wrong, in theory. And neither of them are true. There's always something within the game that went right, and there's always something within the game that went wrong. And I think our goals, the attempt is to measure those things. We've had, I've been here for 21 years now. I've had goal boards with like 25 different goals for offense, defense, special teams. And, just as I've thought through this, is like, I think less is more. Things that are more poignant and focused. And, I've been in the college locker rooms where there's just so many goals. I'm like, wow, that's cool. But, we don't have a graduate assistant department that's doing all that stuff. So Anyway, we have our 12 goals, and we've only achieved 12 goals one time. And that was against St. Francis last year. We were 12 of 12.
Okay, so they're weekly. They're goals that you set each week, and then you play the game and you identify which you have accomplished and which you haven't.
Correct.
Each week.
And then each week we bring the team up, and here's how we did. And it's kind of a fun exercise and everyone wants, we want to be perfect.
Right. Well, it certainly drives the themes home. I mean, the goals home. So if you're
absolutely
repeating them.
That's right. And on those meetings when we're talking about the goals, it's 4 on offense, 4 on defense, 4 on special teams. So it's 12. We want to be 12 of 12. And again, in my 21 years, we've only been 12 of 12 one time ever. And that was the 2020 team against St. Francis last year here. Just no idea what was going to happen. Serra's never beat St. Francis like we beat them last year. We've never run the clock on them. That wasn't even the goal. We were just every St. Francis game we've played, it seemed like it's come down to the fourth quarter and there's all sorts of drama and just crazy. And, sadly for Serra history, we've been on the wrong side of that, where the clock has run on us and all that bad stuff, but that's for another podcast.
Sure.
But, that day last year in 20, we went 12 of 12. So 1.7 first downs per drive, which you can't get a seventh of a first down, but averaging that over years, the goal is to try to get 20 yards every single drive. Okay, so you get the ball, you get at least 20 yards, you can punt, that's okay. So we don't want to get the ball and go 3 and out and get off the field and punt.
Right.
Score 75% when inside the 25-yard line. We were 2 for 2 last week. By the way, we had 1.71 first rounds per drive last week against Palo Alto. 12% rule, which is what I got from Ralph Friedgen when he was coaching at Maryland at a clinic in Nashville, Tennessee in 2001. I love this. This was any fumble, any sack, any penalty, a dropped ball, and an interception divided by total plays. Should be 12% or less.
Wow.
So if you don't make any mistakes, you're at 0%. If you make a lot of mistakes, you're at 50%, and we don't want that. If something in these categories goes wrong, we add it. We were at 7% last week, so our offense was 4 for 4.
That's great.
Which is great. Defensive goals, and we do this every week, 17 points or less. So if we get to the red zone 3 times and we score, 75%, maybe we get there 4 times. Hopefully we get 21 points if we give up 17 points or less. And again, these are goals that are drawn from the fact that we play really good teams.
Right.
So you're like, what do you mean 17 points? Like,
it's pretty specific.
It's very specific, but we think if we're playing really good ball, we should win 21-17 or 18-17. Sure. Whatever. One more point than the other team, but again, at some point the scoreboard lights up. 17 points or less. And this week we measured the first half of the fire.
Right.
And usually we don't, but this week we did. It was like, okay, if you're not going to watch film, you're not going to do this, and we're not going to measure everything, as a team thing.
Right.
So for this week, the guys that were out there in the first half gave up 0 points, 3 and outs. So we want the other team to get on the field, have 3 plays and punt. Okay. So 3 and outs is the goal. We had 3. Okay. Then the opposite of efficiency, the 12% efficiency that I got from Ralph Friedgen at Maryland, is chaos. Okay, so we want 20% of the opponent's plays to just be miserable, right?
Right.
So that'd be a fumble, any ball on the ground, sacks, interceptions, pass deflections. DBs getting there, knocking the ball out. Tackles for losses. So they run a play, they go backwards, -1 through whatever, and all that. Penalties greater than 10 yards. So, it could be like someone gets into a fight, but the other team, like a personal foul where we don't retaliate, which is something you have to really teach because you want to fight back. And no, you got to show humility. Father show humility. Turn around and walk away. You get a 15-yard penalty. We count that. So you do all of that and you divide those categories by total plays, and we want it to be 20% or more in the chaos. And we had 22% chaos, which was great.
That's great.
Then we want takeaways. We want to take the ball away from the other team. If fumble goes on the ground, we got to get it. Interceptions. We only had 1 in this category. There wasn't a lot of plays because we only played the first half. But, Sione Lalea got the interception, scored a touchdown.
That was great, yes.
So they were 3 for 4. Special teams. See, now I'm geeking out on football. I'm probably boring the hell out. I'm probably boring the hell out of it.
This is great.
Yeah, okay. I'm geeking out on football. Okay. 75% kickoff at the 25-yard line or less. So when we kick the ball off, we want them to be at the 25-yard line or less, so they have a long way to go. 87%, we were 6 of 7. Leo's got a big leg.
Right.
So the ball goes in the end zone, a touchback, they start on the 20, boom, we hit that goal. So anyone, that's listening that can kick the ball 61 yards, you're on the football team because
there were some good kicks.
Great kicks.
I was really impressed with
deep,
that.
Right?
Very, very.
One of the most dangerous plays in all of football is a kickoff return. But if the ball goes in the end zone in high school, you can't return it. So that's a great defensive play, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Average net punt, so you punt the ball, a net punt is when they catch it. Okay, that could be a 50-yard punt, but if they return it 15 yards, that's a 35-yard net punt. So we want that goal to be 32.5 yards. We did not punt much, but when we did, Leo punted it at an average of 45 yards for a punt.
Wow.
So he did a good job there, and then obviously anything blocked, which is good. Our kickoff return average start point, when we get a chance to return, we want to do it at the 35-yard line. Our average start point was a 38-yard line, so we got that goal. And then we want no turnovers, missed PATs or field goals. Sadly, we missed 1 PAT. So we would have been 4 for 4, but we were 3 for 4, and that's why it was 41-0 at half and not 42-0 at half.
I see. And
so we were 10 of 12.
I was just going to say, and so what does that round up to? Because that was a lot of numbers.
A lot of numbers. So maybe next week I'll just tell you, how do you guys do? Well, we were 12 of 12.
There you go.
Hopefully.
That's what we're hoping for.
But we were 10 of 12 this week. And largely when you look at that, you're like, okay, it felt like 10 of 12. It did felt like things were going generally well. Right. And then there's sometimes when in this sheet I turn it red. If we don't get the goal, turn it green. If we do get the goal, we obviously want a lot of green and not a lot of red. Right. And then some of those weeks where there's a lot of red, it's like, ooh, that was not a great game.
So the implementation of the goals, I mean, that's obviously discussed in your post-game chat with the boys, first practice after the game, right?
Absolutely.
And then you go through that specifically, right? Are you watching tape as well? Or what? I mean, at the same time, you're illustrating these points, right?
Yes. So we, in the film review, we're also charting our goals.
Excellent.
And Michael Redman, who is, the father of Rami and, come on, what's his name? He's going to be mad at me. I just call him Redman.
Michael
He's
Jr.?
in that. No.
Just kidding. This is a guess.
No. Rami and, God, he's going to kill me. One of the great linebackers at Serra. Ran through people, tough. Come on.
Rosie's looking it up.
Yeah, it's
Redman.
Rami's my Williams good golf buddy. Anyway,
we'll get back to him.
Yeah, his dad.
Big shout out next week.
He's a huge shout out. He's gonna be so mad. Huh? Oh, of course, Raymond Redman.
Thank you.
One of the great Padre linebackers, tough as hell. Anyway, his dad is our statistician, so I have him go through it. We talk about the goals. It's very important. He takes it real serious. He helps populate the sheet, then the coaches review it. The other thing we do right after the game is we go through our grades. Each player is graded in the game, and then we have a team grade. I'm not gonna go through that. Maybe that's next time.
Right.
Our team graded at an 82% this week, which is high grade.
That is a high
It's
grade.
hard because we grade hard, and you get a 1 or a 0. Either you do your job or you don't, which is why I love coaching football.
That's great.
It's not, we live in some gray times right now. It's like, oh, wait, what's this? In football, you either do your job or you don't. So we grade each player. They get a 1 or a 0. So if there's 80 plays and someone got a 1, they'd get 80 of 80s, 100%. So collectively, our team's graded at an 82% this week, which is a high grade for football.
That's great. And so that's a lot. You said 77 on the roster, right? Is that
yes. 73, I think 73? We're at, yeah.
So that's a lot of people to watch. So
correct.
Did you guys get together as a group post-game to kind of go through those grades? Is that how it works?
Well, the position coaches grade their positions. So I grade the offensive line. Coach McGee grades the safeties. Coach Monsef does the corners. Coach Thomas does the linebackers. Coach Eagle does the D-line. Coach Ortiz does the receivers, and Coach Bell does the quarterbacks and the running backs.
That's great. So it's so interesting to see everything that you put into place. I mean, it's just so much more than the big game, That movie Friday, or the series Friday Night Lights, made it look a little different, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, just a tad.
Awesome. Okay, so we're moving into this Saturday. We have a home game against Half Moon Bay High School. We all know what a great program Coach Holden has on the coast over there. He's a good buddy of yours, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Great man. Does a great job. Good.
Well, the last time you played Half Moon Bay on this field, they had an epic first quarter drive and led the Padres 14-0 in the first round of the CCS playoffs. Can you provide a little background on the history of these two teams and maybe reference that game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's impossible to talk about that Holden's program, Half Moon Bay, without talking about that game. But, first of all, the playoff system is set up in a way that, it's point driven, and I didn't. They did a great job, and I'll talk about the game specifically, but I don't think they should have been the 8 seed in CCS playoffs. We're the 1 seed, they're the 8 seed. They're undefeated. They should have a home game. Barbecue should be going. They should be bringing crab from the coast. I mean, they should make $1 million on their gate.
Right.
So it's just the way it is. Sometimes it's just the way it is. And, I told those guys, these guys aren't coming in here, feeling sorry for themselves that they're not doing any of that. Because I know Coach Holden. I know that the pride that the coasters have. Half Moon Bay is a prideful place. Tough kids. Coach Holden, there's exactly what you're going to get. And it's been that way forever. Coach McGee, played at Oceanside when they had football. Is it Oceanside? They used to
Oceana.
Oceana. And then he went to Terra Nova, played for Bill Gray, and he's like, this is the way Half Moon Bay's always been. And he told us before the game, this is what you're going to get. And of course, Finn Williams, and we've had kids from Half Moon Bay. We're like, dude, these guys they're not going to.
Mauer, was it Mauer? Or he's Pacifica.
Mauer's Pacifica, yeah. But they're tough. Most of the time when someone comes over, Teddy Guntran, I talked about in the first podcast, right. They're tough people, and they come over, and that equates well to football, obviously.
Right.
But, Coach Holden, the one thing I'll say about Half Moon Bay is, particularly when I watch them play, is I want people to say the adjectives about our team, the Padres, how I feel about their team. They play hard. They're organized. They're disciplined. They're tough. The special teams are good. They overachieve. They're always running the ball. They're just all these things like I want people to say about Serra. I think about Half Moon Bay, which I think is the best compliment I can give anybody. And I've told Coach that before. But specifically about this drive, I told a story to the kids the other day. I might have embellished it a little bit, but I'm sitting in an old haunt in Half Moon Bay, just after the game, and these two old timers wearing sailor hats and big beards just sitting there, and they're just talking about history, and they bring up the drive. Oh, what is the drive? And they sit there. I'm sitting there in the corner. They don't know I'm there, and they're sitting there talking about how David took on Goliath and kept the football for an entire quarter and 2 minutes into the second quarter and made a statement that we are Half Moon Bay. We are the Cougars. We are taking these guys down. And that's the story of the drive.
I love that.
And it actually really happened. It was crazy. It was fog was in. It was misty. It was cold. And there was a fire pit. It was great. But these people are just talking about it. And the coast will never forget this drive. I swear to God. So there may be a little embellishment there, but the fact of the matter is it was an astonishing thing that you don't really see very often. Fourth down conversions and the little guys in theory, right? The 8 seed just capping on the big guys. And it was just, and I always say, it was worth 7 points. Well, I really respect it, and I'm with the Sailors talking about it, and they'll talk about it forever. They didn't get 37 points for that drive. They got 7,
right? Which
was good for us because they definitely kicked our butts. And, that's something that we'll never forget either. It was not scheme. It wasn't, we knew exactly what they were going to do. It's just, they were kicking our butts.
And it was shocking in that first quarter, right?
Oh my God. It's the playoffs. everyone's here. It's like, Sarah's going to roll these guys. And that didn't happen. And next thing you know, it's 14-0. We had a great drive at the end of the half with Terrence LaVille, another one of our captains in 2019. That's right. These guys will just keep popping up when I think of these great players, right? Day was hurt, another captain.
Right.
So they, it was 14-7 at halftime. And then my brother, I'll never forget it, the Coach Eagle, we're talking about these adjustments and these sort of things. And there's no adjustment. My brother made it an emotional adjustment to the clear fact that the only adjustment we need to make is to stop getting our butts kicked and getting dominated by Half Moon Bay. It wasn't the coaching. We're surprised by what Half Moon Bay does. But like Coach McGee said, when he was at Oceana High School, which doesn't exist, they're doing the same things, basically.
Right.
Same DNA. And that whole thing, we needed an attitude adjustment. And then I think the Padres showed up after that drive by Dom, who was a sophomore at the time, and Terrence scored the touchdown. I was like, all right, we're going to wake up here and come back. And I think we ended up winning by a lot. Yeah. I don't remember. I remember Hassan kind of closing the game off with a great swing route and cut back a bunch of times as a sophomore. I remember that, and I finally took my headset off. I'm like, damn, that was brutal.
That must have been an emotional roller coaster starting that way.
Oh, my goodness. It was terrible. And that was right after coming off the loss to SI, where we lost 14-13.
That might have been why then.
Well, and I think why was Coach Holden had those guys ready and they kicked our butts. That's why it happened.
Definitely. That's great. Well, what do you expect from Half Moon Bay this year?
Same.
I mean, we're going to be watching that first quarter.
I mean, the players are, totally different. I think Coach Holden would say that's, one of his best teams ever assembled, which is, you think about that in context. It's like, those guys should host a game, right? I mean, right. But it's just the way our section is. And, they take the top 8 teams in the section and we duke it out. It's called the Open Division. And, the best team out of those 8 is the best of the section. In 2019, the Open Division existed up until 2013, but it existed in 2012, 11, 10, 9, 8, where they take all the top 8 teams and they play together and only one comes out.
Wow.
And so that went away for a little bit in 14, 15, 16, but it came back in 2019. So we won the last one in 2013, which was our first CCS title that, since I had been here. I got here in 2001.
Wow.
We hadn't won a section title until 2013. when people are like, oh, you guys are just dominant. I'm like, well, we haven't even won a section title yet.
Right. 12 years in.
Right? Oh, actually, we won one in 2011, but not the open division.
I see.
So we won in 2011. Joey Erdy, a bunch of great players. Marty Dialba, who coaches with us, he was on that team.
That's
Head
cool.
of the Sharks. They called on the DB group, the Sharks. And then 2013, we won the open division title, which we'd always been scraping for. Won it in 2019, after beating Half Moon Bay Wilcox, and then had an epic game versus St. Francis.
That's great. Well, this year, I think that there's the same quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So we've got the same quarterback from that legendary
the drive. The drive. Yeah. I mean, the thing is you got to play 48 minutes. So, I think ultimately in that game, just the size of our team, the number of, non two-way players. Half Moon Bay is known for, for guys, the quarterback this year will play quarterback and corner.
I see.
Dom plays some defense, and he will, but for the most part, we're platooned, they call it. So we have an offensive platoon and a defensive platoon. So we do what we do, and we always will, like some of our more talented players like Nate Sanchez, Terrence LaVille. Hassan is a one-way player right now, but he could be one of our best DBs.
Sure.
Thankfully, we have some depth, and we don't have to get him beat up throughout the season. But, Half Moon Bay, all those guys go two ways. So hopefully – our conditioning and our toughness. I was going to say
that, they're pretty conditioned if they can do that too, right?
That's exactly right.
Something to think about.
That's right. Football is tough. It's, you watch the NFL, nobody goes two ways. You watch college football, nobody goes two ways unless you're Deion Sanders, and he might just catch a couple passes. But, football, I don't think it was designed to play all 48 or 60 minutes at the higher levels. It's just not.
Well, it's pretty hard on your body.
It's very, very hard on your body.
And your mind, as we were just talking about.
That's right. That's right.
Numbering the goals. So.
That's right. And then there's a lot of pressure on you. You got to learn a lot. So particularly over time, over week 1, week 2, week 3, week 12, you're like, God, it's just a lot of football.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. Well, it's going to be a great matchup. I know they lost their first game to Salinas, 49-22. Did you have a chance to watch the game or look at any highlights?
Yeah, I did. I mean, in Salinas, they just have more guys. Their sideline's full wall to wall, and I think that night when I looked at the sideline, I saw a lot of injured players for week 1 for Half Moon Bay, but I think they dressed like 25 players, and then Salinas is from the 20 to the 20, they might have dressed 60 or 70. It was just you could just see that. You could see the fight in the Cougars. You could see the fight at the traditional Half Moon Bay team,
right? And
there were just some times where it just looked like they just wore them out, particularly later in the game. But there was again a lot of sustained drives, and they run the double wing, and they run the option. So there's similarities and characteristics are there.
Right.
Yeah.
But they look good. They look pretty good, even though they lost Half Moon Bay.
Yeah, I mean, I think again the numbers of that game tell the tale of that scoreboard, if you will. But the fight, the way the kids run, the way they tackle, and the way Coach Holden has them, it's just the same. It's similar. So. We're expecting their best effort. We're expecting, if there's 25 in the best 25 that, Half Moon Bay has to offer, and they're going to come, they're going to be physical. And if we, have this, higher than now kind of mentality where we're schedule picking or doing weird things,
right?
We're going to be in it again. And then there's going to be sailors sitting in some dreary bar talking about drive number 2. Like, come on.
That was great. So the boys get to play this weekend at home, which is really exciting. So we're really looking forward to the varsity game at 2:30 at Fridas Field. JV will open at 11. The games will be live streamed, and tickets are actually going to be sold in advance. And for anybody who's planning to attend, it's going to be cashless. So bring your ATM cards or have your tickets pre-purchased. You can now listen to this podcast on Spotify and Apple. And we want to give a little shout out to Rosie, who's been updating our football website, which will launch or debut in preparation for this game, which is pretty exciting because we have a lot of really cool pictures that you've taken over the course of the last couple games. So thank you once again, Coach Walsh, for your time, talent, and focus. We always love this hour, and we appreciate your time. We're looking forward to seeing a great game, and go Padres. Thanks for all you do.
Go Padres. Hopefully some students show up. I know Saturday's a little bit tougher than Friday nights, but
I have a feeling you are not going to have a problem with that. I guess the freshman game last Saturday was one of the most well-attended. Did you show up?
I mean, I saw pictures of it, but
same.
it was it was more full than most varsity games. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we hope to have the same crowd safely gather here
Yes,
to
correct.
root on the Padres. We're really excited. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Take care.